Hi, my name's Sue Cooper. I'm an artist and art tutor based in West Sussex in the UK. Forgive my attire, but I'm just about to pop out kayaking. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw with pastels this little kitty cat, or any little kitty cat, and how to get it on your sheet without using any kind of tracing method. So I'm just going to do it by observation alone. I'm doing a little cat series, so you might have seen this one before as well. So this is my cat Rusty, this is my cat little girlie. I'll show you how to draw her and talk about the origin of her strange name during the tutorial. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you do have a go, then I'd love to see your work. You can upload it on Sue Cooper's Art Club on Facebook, or I think you can add it to the Patreon chat. So love to see it, and let me know how you get on.
Now, I'm speeding up this bit of the video for YouTube, but if you'd like to watch the real-time tutorial, it's over on my Patreon page, which is www.patreon.com/Sue Cooper, and you'll find this tutorial and a number of other tutorials for pastels, watercolours, oils, you name it. So yes, if you can join me over there, I would love to see you. Otherwise, just check out this little shortened video. So I talk about how to get an image over onto your page, not using any sort of tracing methods. And this gets a lot easier with practice. And I know there's quite a lot of people that find this a really tedious thing to do, to try and transfer images just sort of using observation alone. And they think that there's just a lot of calculations that need to be done and a lot of measuring. And at the start, there can be, and it does take quite a while to get your head seeing shapes, but that's the ultimate goal. I like to see images that I'm drawing as almost like jigsaw puzzles, where each individual bit makes up something that's useful. So a lot of the time people tend to focus on things like the eyes or the nose or the mouth or the ears, like the features, without realizing that it's equally important to get things like the size of the cheek or the forehead correctly or the eyelid. So once you start doing this in a little bit more frequently, you'll start seeing things in sort of shapes too, and posing equal weight to each of the individual areas and not just the main features. So with pastels, I tend to use the blocks of pastels to start off with. So I've got blocks here, I've got pencils, and here I'm just kind of layering up the different colours. And I know that my cat is black. Her name is Little Girlie. She's a cute little black cat, but she's also got a lot of other warm tones in her, and she's got a few like white little flecks around her sort of chest area, and she's got a lot of white fur on her tummy as well. So I'm layering up the different colours. I'm using a paintbrush here to help blend some of the colours, and you can also use one of those wooden stumps. They're called, well, I call them smudgy sticks. I think they're also known as tortillon sticks. So you can use your paintbrush to help blend things. What I did with this paper, I should actually mention the paper that I'm using as well. So in the real-time tutorial, I go through all the materials and a lot more information, but the paper I'm using is Clairefontaine's pastel mat, and it's great because you can just layer up loads of different colours, and I haven't really found a limit to the number of colours that you can layer up, and you can get really strong vibrant colours, exactly the same values that you would have got had you been using sort of like an oil paint or something like that. So it's really good. I'm using not just black colours. I'm using warm browns, I'm using some blues where there's a little bit of reflection. I've got some sort of mauves around her nose and things like that. And you can see I've done all of this from the phone. That's how I operate. I very rarely print anything out, and that's because I like to zoom in and really focus on particular areas, and I can't do that if it's printed out. So don't let that stop you if you haven't got a printer. Use your phone. You can change the settings on your screen timeout in the settings so that it doesn't keep on going off after 5 seconds. Perhaps I might do a video on that at some point. But here I'm just using a combination of smudgy sticks. I'm using a combination of the pastel pencils that I've got. Also use charcoal pencils. So these are coloured charcoal pencils by a company called Brush Fear, and I love them. I think they're great, but I can't seem to find them very much online anymore. So I think you can get them on sites like Temu, and if you're interested in purchasing them yourself, then I have got a materials list on my website, so I'll drop that in the description so you can have a look yourself. So it's important when you're doing an animal that is just like kind of one tone to really kind of see the lights and the darks. So if I had converted her to black and white, you'd be able to see that there's lights around her sort of muzzle area and around her nose. So those are the areas that you should try and keep a little bit lighter. And in terms again of observing things, try and look at the negative shapes too. It's not just enough to be drawing the forehead, the eye, but kind of look at the shape that's left by between the eye and the nose, for example. There's a little bit of a triangle, and see that just as much as you would anything else. Our pastels are notoriously messy, and you can see I'm getting the page quite messy here. What you can do is protect your paper with another bit of paper. So you can see I've got the kitchen towel there, and I should have just brought that up a little bit further. So when you're doing that, obviously feel free to do that. What I was just mentioning there, that photo, it's a photo that I took, but I uploaded it into AI, and you can see, and I asked it to just remove the background just to make it a bit less confusing. So with the eyes, I've layered a whole bunch of different yellows and greens and browns, and there's some little reflections and things. She's got what I would sort of consider like eyeliner here. So if you want a thin line, then use your pencils to get a thin line. That's the easiest way of doing it. Right, sharpening, that's how I do it. That's a foolproof way of doing it, and it requires nothing other than a little bit of a craft knife and a sandpaper. It's not the quickest way. It would be good if one could find a pencil sharpener that reliably sharpened pastels, but unfortunately, such is life, it's quite difficult to find good pastel sharpeners, and I don't know, I sometimes find one I think works really well, and then it stops working. So I've always found the craft knife works. If you've got things like areas where there's little lighter little dents, for example, where around her muzzle, you can use things like not just the pastel pencils, but you can take away colour as well by using an eraser. And I tend to use the Tombow Mono Eraser, which is a good little eraser for doing really thin lines. Also, kneadable rubbers are fabulous, and you can use that for some of the larger areas. I've got an electric rubber, which you'll see me use in a bit to just tidy up that background space. And here I'm just using the pastel pencils just to create an extra level of depth and fur. So you can, if you go in the direction of the fur, you can just add some little marks. And sometimes with hair, you have to sort of have a look. Is there dark hair on top of a light, or is there light hair on top of a dark? And try and replicate that. So little girlie got her name because I was having a bad experience over in Italy when I was living there for a bit. I had a lot of cats that just kept dying. So unfortunately, she just came around, found me basically after one of my cats had died, and I was still a little bit upset. So she ended up, I ended up not really naming her to save her. So far it's worked. She must be almost 9. Anyway, silly superstitions, but her name stuck. I had to refer to her as something, so I kept referring to her as the little girly cat. My ginger Tom is not a little girly. Anyway, see how I'm just adding the little using the rubber to take away, adding some extra little fur around the sides. So if you have a go at painting a black animal, obviously it's not just limited to cats, then I'd love to see it. Upload your work on Facebook, or Sue Cooper's Art Club on Facebook, or I think on the Patreon chat. When you want to get little whiskers, then try and use a really sharp pastel pencil. And here I'm just showing you how you can make sure that your tones are correct. And what I'd done there is I'd looked at it again in the morning and converted it both to black and white, and I realised that I needed to darken up quite a few of the areas. So I'm just going over and darkening it again where I need to. So thank you very much for joining me. As I said, come over to patreon.com/Sue Cooper if you'd like to follow along with me in real time. My Patreon is free to join, and there are also some paying tiers. You can also buy tutorials on a one-off basis as well, any that you fancy. If you don't want to miss any tutorials coming up though, then please like and subscribe to this video and my channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you very much for your support.